It's the Our Game Team of the Week brought to you by FantasyHurling.ie and FantasyGaelicFootball.ie. Now, the Hurling Championship obviously started at the weekend, and the Team of the Week is going to be based on that. It's not too late to sign up, so go to FantasyHurling.ie if you want to put up your team. Plenty of the teams haven't been in action yet either, and there's going to be a long road in the qualifiers for certain teams such as Clare and Laois, who obviously got knocked out the weekend. I'm going to post up the links as well if you want to go directly to the championship versions of it. But just to go through my own team here after the weekend. Now, I'm sure not everyone will agree with it, but that's all part of it. And please do send in your team to let us know who you think was the team of the week. In goals, Nicky Quaid. I suppose looking across the board, he did concede a goal, but I wouldn't really have any issues with the goal he conceded to Ryan Taylor. I think Eibhear Quilligan was probably brought back a few times for trying quick puckouts when they weren't on and the referee was getting frustrated with him. So that probably ultimately slowed up Clare. I don't think Alan Nolan probably, and this is all fine margins, I probably didn't put him in because of spilling an early back pass out over his own end line, which resulted in a 65. Small margins, small little silly things, I suppose, for the most part. And then finally, I didn't quite go for the goalkeeper for Laois either, for Enda Nolan. He had a couple of brilliant frees from long range, maybe missed one or two as well, but not that many saves and let in 2 goals, so it's probably hard to pick him. So Nicky Quaid, good performance, I'd pick him. Rory Hayes did quite well in the full back line, and it's worth acknowledging that coming in, thrown in at the deep end against Limerick, who are obviously an unbelievable side, and were expected to win this game quite well. And I think it's a reflection of how well that full back line for Clare did, that Conor Cleary is in beside him. Now, Aaron Glenn got a few points from play. Given the amount of ball that Limerick were on, he was always going to get some ball. So I think the fact that Gillan didn't put up 1-6 from play, you'd have to give him a lot of credit. Conor Burke I've named as corner back here. Now, he did play as a sweeper, but it was a case of fitting in 6 backs. He was on the ball an awful lot, protecting his own D in front of Ross King, who was playing as full forward for Laois and being marked by Paddy Smith. So I think Conor Burke's ability to use the ball was huge here. The fact that he didn't really give it away, very composed, and also scored 2 points from sweeper, which is no mean feat at all. I think that brought him into the team for me. Dara Gray, probably not many people are going to talk about his performance, and it was understated, but what he did was shut down the major attacking threat that Laois had coming up through the centre, which is Paddy Purcell. So of course Laois, because they had Ross King isolated up front and at times Picky Maher up there as well, they needed Paddy Purcell to be able to run up through the centre and cause havoc, and for the most part Dara Gray did his job perfectly well, and it resulted in Paddy Purcell being moved back to sweeper for the second half. So if you're talking about trying to shut players down in a way that Limerick probably didn't try to do with Tony Kelly, I think Dara Gray, he did exactly what his manager Matty Kenny would have asked him to do. I think Declan Hannon, as the game wore on against Clare, he just got on more and more ball. His distribution is very good. I think he scored a point or 2. Diarmaid Burns, as the game went on, he knocked over a couple of scores, got on a lot of ball, plucked a lovely puck out at one stage. Now, Tony Kelly got a point or 2 off him as well, but he was also running the show going in the other direction in that second half. Will O'Donoghue, I think, quietly did his job very well. I think Cian Lynch still did plenty of bits and pieces that were nice, but I've seen him more influential other times, and that's why Cathal Malone, who was man-marking Lynch, is in beside Will O'Donoghue. And O'Donoghue, as I said in the Hurling show earlier on Monday, he had assisted 4 points in a row early in the second half without people probably even noticing, so that's why I have him in there beside him. Now, Groad Hegarty was always going to be a lock to be in the team here, 5 points from play, and that's before we take into account his assists, his work rate, just the fact that he rarely seems to give away the ball. He's going to be in the Hurler of the Year conversation pretty soon, I reckon, if he keeps this form up. And had Limerick gotten to the All-Ireland final last year and maybe even beaten Tipperary, some of his performances earlier in the year probably would have put him up in that conversation. Now, Tony Kelly, centre forward, I mean, he got 59 points on the FantasyHurling.ie game this week, and I think, to do that in a situation where your team is so soundly beaten is just an iconic sort of performance, as Buff Egan would put. And obviously Tony Kelly is one of his main men when it comes to players that he appreciates. That makes Tony Kelly without doubt the player of the week as far as I'm concerned on FantasyHurling.ie. Keane Boland, probably an underrated performance at wing forward. He's always so good for Dublin. If he had to avoid more injuries in the past couple of years, I think we'd be talking more about him. Really good player, really pacey, gives off the ball when he should give it off, takes on the points when he should. He understands when he shouldn't take on shots, because sometimes he scores from the sideline, but he has that talent and he recognises that he can do it. Donald Burke, 37 points on FantasyHurling.ie. He was really, really good. Everyone talks about the 116 he put up. Can he repeat it against Kilkenny is the big thing. But his composure on the ball, the fact that he looks like he's not sprinting and yet he's getting away from players, he's just really good to watch. Now Ross King, it's just because he was so up against it in that game. He didn't have support around him. He had Paddy Smith behind him. He had Conor Burke in front of him. He had Owen O'Donnell looking to get involved too when ball came in there whenever he would come away from his man. So it was just really, really difficult day for Ross King. Yet he won frees. He didn't score. He wasn't a massive scoring threat from play, but he was bringing people in. He was coming and trying to get involved. And he was just so up against it for a team that was beaten by 14 points, that was down players from last year. So I think you need to recognise how tall of an order it was for him. The same way that Rory Hayes is in this team, Conor Cleary is in this team, Cathal Malone and Tony Kelly. You're really kind of trying to push the rock uphill with the team you have. And Ross King on the frees as well was brilliant. Ryan Taylor, he's the last guy in my 15 here, just to score 1-1 when your team is under the cosh again. I mean, really, really good. And I think there might be some eyebrows raised at having 4 Clare players in here when they've been average at best, and you only have 4 Dublin players in here as well at the same time when they've won comfortably, and I accept that. But that's just my team of the week. Don't forget, Gaelic football season hasn't started yet. This coming weekend it will. Go to FantasyGaelicFootball.com, put your team together, get your leagues going. It's great crack. And there's obviously massive prizes to be won as well. But that's my team of the week, FantasyHurling.ie. Fair enough, one weekend has passed, but there's still time to get in there and win those prizes. And let me know what your team of the week is.